Live. Okay. Ready? Here we go.
Yes.
Give me just a second. Hold on. We have some technical difficulties, guys, but we got it. There we go. Okay. So, welcome to the show. Sorry for the delay, everybody. We're way behind schedule, but you know how life goes. We are back here today with my brother for Tino Romero, aka the Graveyard Grumbler. Do the voice you think. Do the voice do
Do
the
the
voice
what?
thing you do when you introduce
What? Oh,
yourself
my
on your
my
podcast.
introduction.
Yeah.
Oh, AKA the Graveyard Grumbler.
Yes, you're really low. Can you turn up your sound just a little bit?
Can I turn up my sound? How's that?
No.
Then it's not on my end
Oh,
because I'm at full. I'm on full. I'm on full tilt on mine.
then it's my end. Okay. All right, let me
Yeah,
turn you. All right.
my mic is pretty high.
Okay, so we're back. And since then, first let me introduce myself. As you guys know, I'm Anna Romero, aka Goddess Guidance. You can find me here on YouTube, or you can find me on Facebook or Instagram under Goddess Guidance. On Instagram, it would be Goddess Guidance 12. Let's see, what can I tell you about myself? I am a curandera, I am a healer, I am an intuitive reader, and I am an empowerment, not necessarily coach, but I like to help women with self-empowerment. I offer intuitive readings, which you can book on my website at annamromero.com. And let me go in and type that real quick.
Oh yeah, we get comments today.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to see them though. Yeah, I think so. Hopefully it won't turn off. Okay. All right. So yes, annamromero.com. You can also visit my brother's website. And what is your thing? Graveyard. I know the video
Graveyard.
went off. It's going to go back on right now. Graveyard Grumbler. What?
.podbean.com.
.podbean.com, and you can visit his podcast there. I know the video went out. Just give me a second. I have to maneuver things around here in order to get it going. So
I think there's a glitch in the matrix.
yeah, there's somewhere in it, but we're gonna fuck the matrix, and we're just gonna get going on it.
Let me see. Where am I?
It'll come back up right now. Okay. Can you guys please let me know if the video is up and running?
Yeah, let us know.
Please let me know, because I am going to do the best that I can here with the glitch. Let me see. I'm going to go try to find it. Damn it. There we go. We're on. Okay. So I'm going to have to go to my other account to read any comments that we may have. Okay. All right. So again, we are here with my brother, Tino Romero, aka the Graveyard Grumbler. We've spoken to him in the past in regards to his podcast when he first started it. Just real quick, if you guys have any questions for either one of us, please feel free to drop them in the chat. It's live. I can see it, so I'll be able to convey any questions that he may have, or I mean that you guys may have for any of us. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when we
Graveyard
first spoke
Grumbler.
to you, which was I don't even know the last time we spoke. It's been over 6 months, right?
Yeah, I think it was in the summer of '65, I believe.
Okay, so yeah, it's been a little bit. Was that the
Yeah.
summer of Sam or no?
The summer of Sam.
Yes. Was that
Uh,
prior or before? I think that summer of Sam was way after, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember.
Okay, but I
I've
digress.
worked a
So
lot since then.
since then, okay, when you initially started your podcast, you were talking about an array of different things. You were talking about sex, you were talking about New Year's resolutions, you were talking about aliens, you were talking about so many different things. And then all of a sudden, you started to do some spooky podcasts, which, you know, I call them spooky podcasts, where you were talking about what were the first things that you were talking about, if you don't mind telling us?
The first were paranormal, which was, I can bring it up right now because I have so many episodes out now.
I know, I'm very proud of
that
you for that. Congratulations.
it's been a blurred
A blurred good time.
adventure. Yeah. Let me see. Podcast Graveyard episodes. There we go. All right. So. All right. I don't know, understand why I never thought about this before. Like
Thought about what?
have my information out
Oh,
while you're talking. So the very first one that I've done was I started going creepy with zombie apocalypse, reptilian shapeshifters, and the occult and stigmata.
I think that's where it started, was with the occult and the stigmata, because the
Yeah,
shapeshifters and stuff to me, that's more sci-fi as opposed to I mean, it is paranormal, but for some odd reason, like the reptilian and the shapeshifters, I see that more sci-fi, and I'm not sure why, but it feels more sci-fi. Anyway, so you
yeah.
started there, and from there it took a turn to strictly not necessarily strictly paranormal, but a huge focus on the paranormal. So how did that come about? Shifting from going from, where you first started into, the majority paranormal. Why did that happen?
It happened. It was mostly because when I put out my episodes on the rest of the stuff, I didn't get that many downloads. But then I put out something that had to do with paranormal, and my downloads went up by like 20 downloads.
Right on.
So instead of an average of like 10, 15 downloads at the beginning, then I put something paranormal out, then I was getting 35, 40 downloads. And then, I mean, it's pretty much, you hear the people speak, and you hear what you want. And instead of just putting out just a straight hardcore podcast, I mean, a episode of paranormal strictly, because I don't know about everyone else, but for me, I started to get bored with the subject, so I have to actually leave that subject for a little while and go do some other stuff.
Yep,
But
I agree.
yeah, and so I went from there to serial killers, but then I always noticed that the paranormal always hit just a little bit more when it came with the amount of downloads and attention that I got. So that, and
Versus serial
then
killers, really?
yeah, just the paranormal stuff, it had just a little bit more downloads over the serial killers. Although the serial killer episodes that I put out actually had some really good downloads, but the paranormal still edged it just by like five, between like 5 and 7 more downloads than all the rest of my episodes.
Interesting.
And then add that with the kids telling me that they're interested in the spooky stuff and the paranormal. I'm like, well, hey, fuck it, let's just keep doing the paranormal here and there mostly.
I know that you mentioned that the opinion and the direction coming from your girls played a really well, from your kids played a really big role in you choosing to, slide over to the paranormal side of the world of of podcasting, I should say. Because I do remember you mentioned that they expressed to you after they listened to your podcast, they would express to you, maybe this is a good idea, or you should look into this, or man, this really was a good thing. So it kind of allowed you the opportunity to see, what direction was, I guess, where it mattered most, so to speak.
Right.
Good. So, okay. So when we also first talked, because there's like a thousand things that I'm going to ask you. So I'm just going to cut into, me, I have to just cut into everything because I'll see, like now, I'm going to draw out everything into the scenic route when I don't have to do that. Anyway,
No.
yeah. So you have even mentioned it in your most recent podcast with your interview, Eve S. Evan. Is that what it is?
Yes,
Eve
Eve S.
S. Evan.
Evans.
That's Eve, middle initial S. Evan. That was my brother's most
Evans.
recent um, guest on his
E
podcast.
EVANS Evans.
Yes, that
Yes.
was my brother's most recent guest on his podcast. And in that podcast, you told her that at the beginning of all this, you didn't really believe and you really didn't have very much knowledge or insight to all of this, so you feel differently about the paranormal now. So explain to me what the difference is. What was it that you felt before, or where you stood before as to where you stand now?
When I first started the whole belief, not started the whole belief, but the belief in the paranormal started when I was really young. And when you grow older, I mean, when you hear all these parents, but you hear all these adults talking to you about, like la lechuza, los niños de la tierra, you believe all this shit. You're like, holy crap, this stuff is super real, and I'm gonna get fucked up one night just being outside. Well, when you get older, you start to realize that was all bullshit. Why would they lie to us
Mm,
to scare us? Why would they? That doesn't make any sense to me. So as I got older, I'm like, yeah, that's fake. That's fake. Everything can be explained. Everything is it's tongue in cheek. You can. There's no such thing. And
what
then
is that?
now,
What does that expression mean? Tongue in cheek. What is
tongue
that?
in cheek, like it's funny. It's like a joke. Like you're just teasing, joking around. Like,
Oh,
oh. kind of messing with you tongue in cheek. So,
Okay, I will take your word for it.
and then being married to someone who isn't a believer for so long, the conversations and stuff and the explanations that she has, that Teresa has to justify everything, it solidifies what you already have in your mind. Excuse me, that it's all bullshit, it's all lying. Well, now that I do my podcast and I read about stuff and I see all these videos and all these pictures and all this stuff that you can't help but to, even if it's a small little portion, there's still something that rumbles in your in your stomach where you're like, oh shit, that's real. That has to. I mean, there's video evidence, and unless they're professional photoshoppers, which I mean, it's not
They
very
exist,
difficult.
but I mean,
Right.
it's
It's
whatever.
just that there's stuff that's indisputable evidence that for me, then I'm like, fuck, that's real. That is so creepy. And then on top of that, hearing people that I personally know, their different experiences and different interactions with paranormal, it makes me become a believer. Not of 100%. I'm gullible to every little
Gullible is a strong word, but I understand where you're going with that
yeah,
one.
like a wisp in the corner from the dog running by. Oh shit, those are orbs floating around. Those are no, it's not. The dog just ran by. There's dust in the air. So not believing
He's a fast
100%
runner.
every single thing, but having still that enjoyment where shit that's real. I'm not. There's certain things that are completely not convincing to me at all. Like anything religious, as far as I saw Jesus in a tortilla, or I have a crying statue.
Do you
You know
remember
what I
when
mean?
my parent or my mom and dad took us to go see the Virgen on somebody's wall or something?
Yeah, I
You
didn't know what the
remember?
hell we were looking at.
Neither did I, but I know we were supposed to be seeing the Virgen on someone's side of someone's house or some against something of a plaster or cement wall of some sort. That's what we were supposed to
Yeah,
see,
and
but
then
I was too short to see anything, so I don't get to see anything.
I mean, I just remember being young enough or old enough. I was still really young. I just remember looking at it like the whole like what are we staring at? And then me trying to be an adult. I'm like, wow, that's a nice fucking wall. I'm pretty sure it's gonna hold a lot of things in, but. I had no idea, like crying statues or the most recent one, which caused the biggest uproar between the religious groups and the paranormal and the truthers, was when Notre Dame caught fire. You remember that?
Hmm.
So yeah, Notre Dame just just blew up, not blew up, but it engulfed in flames. Well, everything burned. A lot of things burned except for the big metal cross that was hanging on the wall,
Because
and
it's metal.
all the religious people are like, oh, it's a sign from God. This is the most evident paranormal protection. The spirit of Jesus and all the angels were protecting the one thing that all this other stuff. And then you have all the paranormal people like, no, no. And then you have the truthers saying, dude, metal burns at like a way higher degree than wood does. So, of course, all the wood is going to burn. The
Yeah.
metal isn't going to burn. What's wrong with you? And so, so anything religious, I need 100,000,000,000% undisputable facts or truth or evidence showing that this is a paranormal religious phenomenon.
And you know what? You mentioned a lot religion and paranormal kind of like side by side, and that's weird because to me, I don't see them side by side. I do believe that. See, I see paranormal to me as like a big giant platform, and it doesn't necessarily go inside with go side by side or go hand in hand with religion. But to me, seeing religion as seeing as like anything else, like oh, there's this big paranormal platform, and someone in this church had an experience. Oh, and then someone in this school had an experience. To me, I see those equally. I don't really see them as, this is a set, like, religion and paranormal are a set. And, I don't see it like that. I just see like the paranormal is just the huge blanket. Does that make sense?
Oh, that makes sense. But I mean, you have to. Well, I mean that makes sense because I mean the paranormal to a lot of people are ghosts and hauntings and stuff like that. But are demon possessions paranormal as well?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too. But then that's directly related to you if you have someone who's a strong like a priest will say and you tell them, oh, I've been hearing bumps in the night, I've been hearing this, and
What's wrong with
people are like,
your
oh,
screen? Is that your screen or mine?
that's your screen. My screen is
You're
100%
digitally.
perfect. No, you're frozen on my screen right
Am
now.
I? Damn.
Yeah, you've actually been freezing off and on for ever since we started, and then you'll go and fast forward like,
Oh, to catch
you'll
up? How about now?
yeah. No, now you're frozen. Now you're me mugging like from the hood, though. Really, really, really from the hood
How
though.
about now? Am I going? Am I no? No?
Nope, nope, nope.
Ugh.
You're frozen.
Is my video gone?
Yep.
Yes?
Yeah, your video's gone. Now it
Okay.
just has R,
You should have
like a
AR. Oh yeah. How
like a
about now? Am I
like a
back?
pirate.
I
R.
get it.
Yeah, you're good
Arr.
now.
Am I
Yeah.
fantastic now?
You are up to speed.
Perfect. Okay, we might have to do that a couple of times just to get it going. Anyway, so real quick, if you are here with us, I know we were completely behind schedule for some odd reason. Anytime I go live with you, only you, it's like this huge big ass delay because with Marcos and with Elizabeth, I was good. It was good and up
Yeah,
and running. But for some odd reason, when it comes to you, it's like the universe, or maybe it's the paranormal, do not want us speaking to each other. But that's too bad. We're Romero's and we're going to do it. But
I
if you
feel
guys are
discriminated
here,
against.
if you guys are here with us live, drop us a comment, drop us a hello in the chat so that we know that you're here. And if you guys have any questions for us, please feel free to just drop them in the chat and I'll read them out loud so that we both know what they are. Okay, so
Yep.
now you mentioned that it wasn't until you started doing your podcast, the paranormal podcast, that you started to get a better understanding, or at least were more open to the fact that the paranormal is the paranormal. It exists and there's some things that are just unexplainable and that's just what it is, right?
Right.
But you were having experiences in Washington prior to your podcasts. So I know that you mentioned a couple of times here and on your podcast that you were having these paranormal experiences in I want to say Seattle specifically, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, because
So
it was the
go ahead.
the nunnery.
That's right. Okay, so
Yeah.
having had all those experiences, how were you still not a little bit more open? I mean, what were you chalking up those experiences to? Because
Sleep
you come from a
deprivation.
childhood of having all these paranormal experiences and these paranormal explanations, and basically this paranormal way of life, so to speak, was part of our way of life. It was an aspect of our way of life. So coming from there and then having these experiences, even many years later as an adult, how what did you chalk those up to then?
It was a sleep deprivation. That's what it was chalked up to. There's an explanation. When you're in an area and you're tired and you've been up for X amount of hours and you start seeing things, you want to. I think the brain automatically gives you an explanation so you're not afraid or you're not worried or you're not afraid and tripping out. So the brain automatically justifies something. Oh, it's your eyes playing tricks on you because you're working graveyard and it is 4 o'clock in the morning. You've been up since noon the previous day. So what you saw wasn't really were there. And because I don't want to I don't want to bring any of the bad juju home. So I just convinced myself that hey, it's nothing really. But now that I started the podcast and started doing more and more research, I'm like, oh hell no, that shit was really real, man. I mean,
Yes.
a lot of people might not believe it, and I don't. It doesn't bother me, but for the most part, for me, I was convinced that what I saw is what I saw, and it's it's a different way of thinking now than it was before. So
Even when you
yeah.
were, like you said, quote unquote, convincing yourself that it was sleep deprivation or that it was as a result of some, actually something deep down in your mind, you really didn't believe that there was excuse me, that it was paranormal.
I didn't hear you cut out after you
Oh, I
coughed.
said, while you were, hold on. While you were explaining it and explaining it away with sleep deprivation or anything else that you were coming up with, you didn't have even just a tiny bit part of you that was actually realizing that it was paranormal.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because that's I mean, without that small bit of doubt, or belief that it was paranormal, then I wouldn't have had to convince myself that it wasn't real.
Right.
I wasn't really witnessing and experiencing what I was experiencing. So, you have to you have to have some sort of belief or convincing before you try to convince yourself otherwise. You know what I mean?
I see. I see. So now that okay, so what was your goal? Okay, just jumping onto something else real quick. Going back to your guest, right? What was your goal what was the purpose of you having her on your podcast?
When I started my podcast, I never had a direction of what I wanted to do with my podcast. I honestly felt that after, I don't know, a couple months, maybe like, I don't know, 10 episodes max, I'd get bored of it and I'd be done with it because I mean, it's a lot of work to run a
Mm-hmm.
podcast, and I just felt like, knowing my track record of trying to keep hobbies up, I figured, I'll do what I can, and if I like it and I continue it, then great. If it fails and I just stop it, great.
I
At least
have the
I
same
tried.
track
I
record.
have something out there. But I started getting more into it, putting out more episodes, having fun researching stuff, have fun recording and editing, although I'm not editing so much now because it's time consuming. But at the beginning, I had a lot of fun getting my voice out there and recording the show. And so midway through the year, let me see, I started my podcast in January, February, March, April, May, June. I think around May or June, I made a promise to myself that before January, before I completed a year with my podcast, I will have a big name person on my podcast.
And you
And
did
big
that.
name, even if it's, if it's not, if it's big name for around the world in the paranormal community or the podcast community, one way or the other, I was going to have one big name on my show before I hit the year. And so I was chopping away and just, oddly enough, I saw her recommendation on Instagram. I followed her, she followed me. We were commenting on each other's pictures, like LOL, all the paranormal stuff, all the ghost hunting she was doing. And when I was sitting at home one day and I was like, fuck it, you know what, I'm gonna ask. The worst thing she can do is tell me no.
Right.
I'm busy. I have a lot of stuff, and so I was like, you know what, if I can nail this and I can secure this interview, then I have succeeded personally with my podcast. And it was a bonus that she has so many podcasts going on. It was a bonus that she has so many books out, and it's a bonus that she is a paranormal investigator. And it was by far, you can ask all my kids and Teresa. I was so excited. I felt
Mm.
like a little kid. I kept talking about it. Oh, 2 more days until I get to interview Eve S. Evans. It's 2 more days, one more day. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. Chris Cat called it fangirling, which
I would say
I
so.
don't agree. I don't
I would
agree
say
with that
so.
statement. But you know, it was a huge accomplishment for me. It was one, but I mean, up to now, and probably even if I have bigger paranormal or bigger guests on my show, this one interview with Eve S. Evans is still and always will probably be my most awesome, greatest feat for my podcast, regardless of how big it gets and how, or if it stays the same. It's going to be always memorable to me because it was crazy, and that I was able to secure someone like that on the show. And she was so cool about it too. It was awesome.
You
She's
guys
such a
seem
good
to have a
person.
good, not a pleasant rapport. So I am very happy that you, number one, achieved your goal, and number two, had such an awesome person on your podcast, and number three, that you're so excited about it, that you're so, and I'm gonna say into it, but what I mean is you're so, I guess, intrigued by it all, and it just keeps drawing you in, and it's just more and more and more. Like it's this ongoing. I don't even like the word hot passion. It's this ongoing passion that just keeps growing and growing as you start to explore so many more different parts of it. Like you start to check out, oh, this corner or that corner. So many different things are starting to show up for you, and it's just adding more, more fuel to the fire in terms of your passion. So I'm very excited about that
Yeah,
because, like you, I have a track record of not following through on things. I get bored with it, and then so that's what it is. It just ends there, and it's like, maybe I'll pick up again later, or maybe it's just going to be something else. But I do have the same track record. However, it's been a little bit different in terms of, running my business now and actually putting myself out there because before I had a website, it was a free website, but then I learned that that particular um, website company, once you post everything on their site, they become owners of it, and I didn't like that. So I stopped posting on there, and then I just kind of left it alone. But then I decided to just jump into it and start financially investing in myself and my company. Excuse me. And I actually have a full-fledged website out there, so that I'm very proud of because I put it, just like I imagine similar to podcasting, it takes a lot of work to put your website together. Even though I wasn't doing the work, I still had to supply all the information, all the elements. I had to supply everything for her to put up on on my website, and it sucked because it was so much. It's like when you start on one thing, it takes like hours to actually get the answer because you can't get the answer without, researching and exploring so many other things. And as draining and as time consuming as it was, I still was really excited about it too. It's like I would get up the next day and just be excited to spend all those hours doing it, but then after that I was tired. But it was yeah, it makes me really tired. So I am excited for you and everything that you've achieved thus far, because you achieved the goal that you set out to achieve, which was to
Yeah.
have a known, someone known on your podcast. So congratulations on that, brother. I'm very happy for you.
On a side note, the you're becoming well known in my on my podcast and in my podcast community. Like I mentioned to you earlier, I don't think I told you on the show. No, because we did the show on my podcast. But you're the Dr. Phil to my Oprah show.
Oh, thank
And
you.
the episode that we just recorded not too long ago with, I think it was like the shadow people, and oh, I'm looking at it right now. Hold on. The shadow people. Well,
And the
anyway, the
midnight
one the
man,
one that we most did,
the midnight
Midnight
man.
Game.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
midnight game
Midnight
and the
Game and
shadow
the Shadow
people.
People. Up to now, that I have gotten 111 downloads
Yes. One,
on
one,
that
one.
podcast, and
Yes.
that is by far by a huge distance gap, that is the highest downloaded episode that I have. The next one after that is 88 or 80 something, and that one is the Red Door Yellow Door, and
Oh,
that's
I
the
still haven't
second
heard that one.
highest so far. But your episode and my episode are that one is 111. The one we did the very first time together, that one reached up to 90.
Oh,
And
that's
then
right behind it. That's close behind it. That's
yeah, and
awesome.
so
Good.
that one,
I'm glad
those
that
two are
that's
the
happening.
biggest ones that we've gotten so far, and that's another thing where it kind of kept me into the spiritual paranormal world. That whenever you and I do an episode, a lot of people listen. And the funny thing is, people will, I have people will message me, like some of my friends and stuff, and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, the thing you did with your sister, it's awesome. Y'all talk and you know how to respond and all this." I'm like, "Well, yeah, we've grown up with each other. We know exactly how to talk." And he said, "Most of the time, we're not even doing an interview base. We're just talking and having fun, like we would do if we were hanging out together
Mm-hmm.
in
Yep.
person. The only difference is that she's in Bakersfield, I'm in Texas, and we have cameras going on. That's the only difference. Other than that,
Literally.
the way that we're talking is the way that we talk in person, and that's the way that we talk with our sister. I don't will know what Maria. I can't almost.
I
I
know
don't know what
it's
she wanted her
tricky.
other game.
Maria, don't call her by her government name.
Yeah, different name. She'll come after me, but and so with that, I mean that's one of the another bonus that you're able to help me out on my side. And I mean, I don't know how your listens or how everything goes, but hopefully people are intrigued enough to be entertained by our conversations on your end too. Because I know on my end, I get messages from people saying, "Hey, it was a great episode. Sounded great. What you talked about is really interesting." So
I got a lot
we're
of
doing
messages
doing
on that
something right.
episode too. A lot of messages. I got a lot of people asking, say, "Hey, that's your brother?" And I'm like, "Yes." I'm like, yes, we have the same last name. That's my brother." And for some odd reason, people forget that I have another brother. They forget. They just forget. Like, that's your brother. I'm like, yes. As a matter of fact, he's the oldest of the two brothers. Anyway, a lot of people were asking, confirming that you're my brother. They were asking, how long you've been doing your podcast. They were telling me how neat your podcast is, that they've listened to this episode, they're going to listen to another one. And they started listening to our episode and it's really long, but they had to go to work and they can't wait to get off work and come back to finish it. And it was a lot. There was a lot of feedback from that episode as well. A tremendous amount of
Good.
feedback. And as you know, I'm constantly sharing everything about your podcast as you post it as well. So you already are known in, I want to say my community, but on my page, the Goddess Guidance page on Facebook as well, because I'm, basically it's me and you on the page because I'm constantly sharing your podcast and I'm copying the words. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm copying and pasting your words and putting them in the quotations because I want people to read or hear what you have to say. And when you're presenting your podcast or when you're sharing it or when you're speaking of it directly, I don't do it justice when I say it's an awesome, episode, go listen to it. I don't do it justice. So I make it a point to copy and paste what it is that you have to say so that everybody can, number one, see it, and number two, read exactly what you have to say in your own words. Because when we speak of our own project, our own passion projects, it is completely different than when anybody else tries to introduce it or tries to, tell about it. So it's important to me that people get to hear your words and hear about it firsthand.
I appreciate that very much. The funny story on the show notes and stuff when I put to describe like on Facebook and whenever I post my episode, there was this podcaster. I don't know if he's a podcaster or if he's just someone who pitches advice to help podcasts grow. Well, he messaged me and he's like, "Hey man, I listened to I think it was Shapeshifters or whatever it was," and he's all, "It was a good episode, blah blah blah." And I said, "All right, I appreciate it, thank you very much. I'll always take a listen. I really appreciate." He's all, "But stop. There's a but,
Here
huh?"
we go.
Okay, so what's the but? I appreciate if it has to do with my audio, that's fine. I was in between. I didn't have the equipment that I have now, so I understand my audio was kind of off. And he's all, "No, your show notes." I said, "What about my show notes?" He's all, "They're really vague and they're not very descriptive." I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "This episode we're talking about shapeshifters, about aliens, who's a shapeshifter, who's not. Can we find out? Tune in and enjoy." "Yeah, man, you need to put more descriptive." I said, "No, no, 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 no. One thing that turns me off in podcasts are long-winded show notes that explain the entire fucking
Yeah.
episode in the goddamn show
If they
notes.
can read it in the notes, why listen?
Why listen?" And he's like, "Yeah, but it intrigues your customer." I said, your little audience." I said, "Okay, but my audience isn't the one typing up, and I understand my audience. I need to intrigue, I need to please them, but I type the show notes the way I talk about my podcast. Oh shit, listen to my episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super excited." And he's like, "Yeah, but I really think you should change this." And my answer was, "I really think you should just get fucked because I'm not gonna change what I do to please you when you're not even on
You're
my
not my
team." I
audience.
said,
You're just someone
"Yeah," I
that's,
was like,
listening and offering unsolicited advice, first and foremost.
unsolicited advice, and one of the things that I ask for constantly on my show is for everyone who has an iOS device is to go comment on the show. Even if it's, "Hey, can you not speak so loud?" or "Great show, but I want to, this and this." Fine. I will take constructive criticism from my audience every single day of the week. I'll be more than happy. Everybody, you can flood my inbox, you can flood whatever you want to flood my emails, and let me know what you feel about the show, and I will do my best to please my audience's ears because that's what I'm doing it for. So people can enjoy the content that I put out. But I'm not gonna take no fucking advice from some dude who wants to hustle me and try to take credit for the way my show's going. Fuck that.
Yeah, I agree. Then I agree with you.
Yeah.
I have seen show notes. I would say like 95% of people, podcasters, when they have notes, it literally is like a text version of the audio.
Yeah.
For that, I literally will not push play. If I can read every single thing that you talked about, there's absolutely no reason for me to push play whatsoever. All
Yeah.
people
I
need to
mean,
know, and I agree with you, is number one, what we're talking about, when it's happening, what we're talking about it, and my enthusiasm about sharing it with you guys. That's how I feel
yeah.
it should be. Because that's it. I mean, really, that's it. That's it. I
And
agree
there's
with how you construct or how you build you do your show notes. I agree. Because
yeah.
if you're telling me
Even
about the
when I
story,
posted,
I don't want to. I'm not going to listen.
well, I just drone on and on. Like 4 paragraphs later, I'm like, well, I don't even know why I clicked on. Why am I still reading this shit? It's boring, you know.
Yep.
And then unless you have like some sort of detailed mission that we have to do to go support you or whatever, okay, that's different. But if you're just explaining what's happening in the show, then oh my gosh, just knock it off already. And I mean, I even put stuff in caps because I'm so excited. And in parentheses, I'll put yes, I'm using caps because I'm fucking
Yeah.
excited. You know, don't think, oh, this guy can't type. I don't give a fuck, you know, if I can type or not. The point is, I'm excited and I want that to translate exactly in my show notes. I want people to get excited when they read it. Like, oh, damn, this fool's using caps. This shit's real now. I have to pay attention,
That's yes. And you know what?
you
I
know?
know you personally, so I know how you talk in everyday life. So I know for a fact that what you're typing is literally how you talk in everyday life. And I like that
Yep.
because I aim to do the same thing on my page. I don't it's not so I have probably once or twice I have people have come to me with they say you could be a little bit more professional in this aspect or in that aspect. My goal is not to be professional. I don't lack professionalism. My goal is just to put out there whatever it is that comes to me right at that moment and do it whenever I can. My life I've
Yeah.
learned that I've tried I can't stop my everyday life. I'm a mom. I have a 15-year-old daughter that I'm constantly going to be saying something to. She's constantly going to need my attention. My mom and I are constantly having conversations. We live in the house, so they're going to be walking by me. They're going to be, things are going to happen. And there's nothing I could do about it. And there's nothing I want to do about it anymore. Granted, you know, there is respect my, my moment of privacy. If I'm going to be doing something, do your best not to be barging in. But life still happens. And that's the way I convey things and on my Facebook and I think I have a little bit of I have a little some I have fear-based issues on my Instagram because I don't really go live there at all, which I will aim to do, but that's just how I present myself. And the way I present myself is literally how I am in everyday life. And people that know me, like you know, everybody else, they know that what they're seeing is literally who I am, you know?
Yeah.
And so yeah,
There was a
go ahead.
another funny story now that you mentioned about being more professional. There's this other uh, podcast evaluation or survey. I don't know what I don't know what they're called. The people that they're critics. You know, they're so-called professional critics in the podcast world. And I was posting a little snippet of my audio, and it happened to be when I was, you know, I was cussing, and that's how I am. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
talk the way I talk, and so this dude messages me and says, "Hey man, you have a really great podcast voice. You have a really good, interesting conversation, but why cuss? What the fuck do you mean? Why do I
Because
cuss?
I'm an
Like, what are you
adult and I
talking
can do
about?"
whatever I want.
And then he's all, then he went on this long rant about it doesn't sound professional. It makes you sound like you don't know what you're talking about. Pretty much trying to smash the way I talk. And then I messaged him back. I said, because unlike you, the way that I talk in real life is the way that I talk on my podcast. I said I don't change anything for anyone. If a cuss word is going to come out, then a cuss word is going to come out. I don't really give a shit who's listening. I said, and number two, if I did my podcast the way you want me to do it, you know how fucking bored I would be with myself. You know how just drone on and on without getting excited. Like, oh shit, hold on, let me finish telling you this because that excitement comes in, you can be excited in different ways. I'm not the type of person that's going to sit there like, OMG, I'm totally excited right now. Bleep word, so stoked. That's not how I roll. And when I told him, I said, look, man, I said, regardless of what you say, I'm not going to change who I am. And if I have one fucking listener, then I have one fucking listener. I said, if I have 1,000 listeners, then I have 1,000 listeners. I'm not going to change the way I am, who I am to gain listens. I said, if people don't like who I am, then they don't like who I am. If they
Go
like
ahead.
who I am, then they like who I am. That's the bottom line. And with the interview with Eve, I messaged her. I said, look, I don't know how you feel about vulgar language or anything like that. I said, but if it is a problem for you, I'll do my best not to use vulgarity because I don't want to offend you and I don't want to make anything awkward during the interview. And she messaged back. She's all, no, you're fine. I don't want you to change who you are just on account of me. If you cuss and you cuss, I cuss too. It's not a big deal. Just let it ride the way you are.
Yes.
And I thought that was fucking awesome. I thought that was like one of the most amazing responses that I've had from someone that I don't even know. It was great, and it just brings to mind that with social media, when you're saying that you had your fear base going live, I completely understand. it took me a long time not to respond to troll. I didn't even know what a troll was until Teresa told me. I was trying to fight people in the back of Target when I first knew what a troll was. In Bakersfield out there on Mount Vernon, people were talking shit to me online. I was like, bitch, we could be behind Target. What's up, fool? Let me go get my Starbucks and we'll throw it down. And Teresa's like, hey, they're trolling you. They're trying to get you upset. I was like, I'm gonna troll my knuckles to the side of his neck. Fuck this fool. Well, now that I'm running a podcast, people try to make comments, and I just laugh at them. I was like, you think you, and every now and then I'll leave a message like, you think I care
Yeah.
what you think about my show? I said, I don't care. I said, you think that what you say is going to affect who I am? I said, you have no idea, what should it is so what's the word, futile to me that
Hmm.
I don't care, unless you're one of my fans. I have a fan who she messages me constantly, telling me, "Great show, Tino. Thank you. Don't change anything." And that makes me feel really good. She's like one of my hardcore fans. And I never thought that I'd have a hardcore fan ever in my life,
Isn't it nice to have
but
supporters? I am grateful for the support that I
it,
have, all the
it
supporters that I have.
it's amazing. It's a great feeling. It makes me smile and I laugh. And I actually I don't know who I doubt it'll get out, but I actually took her away from another podcast, a huge podcast too. She got tired of the host and how ridiculous and dumb he sounds, and said that you're messaged me and said you're way more interesting. So I'm now going to listen to your podcast.
That's awesome.
So,
That's great. It's
well,
good.
thank you.
See, and you know what? You
Yeah,
going back to what you were saying, how this person was, the critique was, of consisted of they were recommending making these changes, right? All these changes that people recommend and they suggest and they're criticizing you on, all that's going to do is turn you into a cookie cutter version of everybody out there. Why do
yeah,
I want to be like everybody else? Why do I want to be like you? I don't want to be like you, because then what sets me apart from 2,732 other podcasts that are in my zip code, even that? What sets me
yeah,
apart? Why
exactly.
would I want to be exactly like you? Why do I want to do the same things that you're doing? What's the point in that? I don't
Yep.
want to do that. And you know what? Having said that, I actually, when I have a hard time presenting the services that I offer. I mean, right now it's just intuitive. See, and I offer intuitive readings. I was about to say just intuitive reading, which is completely downplays it. So I offer intuitive readings. So when I share that on my website, all I do is just post it. And I had somebody message me saying, you put more things into it, say this, and say the investment and all these words that they're using. For example, if you go click on any ad that comes up when you're on my website, on my Facebook page, it's all spiritual services, right? And
Right.
the way they present it, the way they sell it to you is exactly the same. It kind of tells you what it's about so you can keep scrolling down, and then it gives you all these 15 different bullet points as to what it's going to do for you, and then you get like some testimonies, and then you're going to go down to give you 37 more bullet points as to why you should do it, and then you're going to scroll down and you're going to get 3 more testimonials with pictures, some without pictures, and then at the very end of the 32-foot scrolling page you're going to get the price, right? And
Right.
they call it the investment is, and it's like, it's a price. And I swear I would say 100% of every single thing, every service offered that I have seen from spiritual businesses, and I'm gonna say on Facebook because that's where I see them the most. That's what they look like, all of them, and it kind of makes me sick to my stomach to put that out on my behalf, because all these people are they always encourage making a 6-figure business, making this figures. You want to sell it for the most money that you can, and that's not what I want to do. That is not the purpose of my services. That is not what I want to do. So I cringe when they offer these things, when they suggest these things to me. It's like, I no. Number one, I did not ask you for your feedback, so I'm not going to thank you. And number two, we are not in the same. We are not the
Yeah.
same. So there's nothing, I don't
No.
want to do that. And that's it. So then, there was a point to where this person followed up to their own unsolicited advice and said, "Oh, I noticed that you didn't do this and you didn't do this. I never told you that I was going to." I
Yeah.
am not like you, and I don't want to be exactly like you. I don't want to be 101% of those cookie cutter versions of how you guys, sell your services. I don't want to be that person, because literally, it cringes. Me and my friend Khadijah were having this conversation, a while ago. We cringe when it talks about charging, $1,999 for a course, charging, $199 for this. It's like, shit, I can't afford that. So how do I expect the people that are in alignment with what I do to afford that? I want to offer to people like me. I
Yep.
want to be available to people like me. That's what I want. That's who I want to help. That's who I want to be of service to. But going back to all that, all these things that they're suggesting that you do is just going to turn you into a cookie cutter version of everybody else that's out there. And who wants that?
Yeah. I can't be boring. I can't. If if I can't stand for myself to record this show because it's so boring, well, how would I expect people I know to listen to my show?
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's just, well, I tell
Our Marcos is on.
you. Yo,
So let's see. Shout out to our little brother, Marquitos. Oh my God. Every
that's his
time,
son. That's not him.
check this out. When they're here, we call his son Marquitos. Every time my mom says, Marquitos, Marco says, yes, mom. Huh? You called me? I'm like, oh, geez.
I call his son Junior Gong.
Oh, Lord. Does he answer?
I haven't talked to his son.
Oh, you should. You should get on. You should do you should call Skype him so you guys can see each other. His girls are getting so big. The girls, Elena, she's just growing up so much. They're they're
Yeah, I
they're
saw
transitioning
pictures
from
of
that
him.
little girl to like that almost teenager kind of thing. She's transitioning and they're just growing up so much. See,
Yeah,
I
it's
can
something that we
actually.
can't stop.
Yep. I'm trying to read his messages. Yeah, see, we were talking about our businesses. He said having a baseline and looking at a person and saying, okay, that's where I want to start and taking it from there, which I get what he's saying in terms of having a baseline when we're creating our business and deciding which direction we want to go. And does that make sense?
No.
Okay, never mind. Well, I mean, in my head, it makes sense because I know where to put the statement, so never mind. Anyway,
Right.
so,
One of the things that I'm struggling with right now is the spooky story versions or the spooky stories that I have on my podcast. I for the longest time, I mean, I enjoy writing them, I really do. However, they're time consuming. I mean, it takes several days, if not weeks, for me to come up with stories that I feel that are fit enough or good enough for me to put out on the show. And now I have a few stories, but eventually I'm thinking about starting like a subscription to the spooky stories because it's an extra to the show. It's not
mhm.
something that's part of the show. It's something that I created to kind of give people the little tingling like, oh shit, that's fucked up. Why would he write that? But and like how you mentioned or earlier when you said, well, if this costs 1,000 whatever dollars, how and I can't afford it, how am I going to afford it? And I don't want to seem like I'm trying to do a money grab, but also at the same time I'm trying to find motivation to continue doing it on a regular basis because I have a couple friends that have messaged me. They're like, dude, what the fuck? Where's the stories at? Why are you texting me right now? You should be writing your stories. I don't want to hear it. Bitch, you're the one who texted me. What are you
Demanding,
talking about?
demanding.
Yeah, and when I mentioned to one friend specifically, I said, hey man, I'm thinking about charging like a Patreon for my spooky stories. That's it. Podcast is still gonna be free. I would never put my podcast on a Patreon or the actual show, the main meat of my show, on subscription. It'd just be the extra, the stories that I would want to add, as a subscription, so I can have again. It's all motivation, and the surprising he's all, dude, I would subscribe. I enjoy your
Yeah.
stories. I enjoy how you read them. I enjoy the audio and the music that you put along with it. He's like, I definitely would subscribe. And he's like, how much are we talking about here? And I was like, dude, I said it wouldn't be much, I was like, it would be no more than $5 a month. That I think that seems reasonable. But I don't know because I don't want someone to be like, oh man, fuck this fool. And
Well, you mentioned Patreon, so do your research with Patreon because you literally can start as little as $1. Because I was subscribed to two people that it was just $1, but they have different tiers. So you have the $1 tier, and then you have like a $3 tier, and then you have a $5 tier. So if you wanted to put the extra work in to say, this is what I want to offer, but let me break it down into pieces. So the $1 people can get this piece, the $3 people can get up to here, and then the $5 people get the whole thing. You get what I'm saying? So you can
Yeah.
look into Patreon and see if you're gonna do the tier thing or just do one solid amount.
Look, I mean, I understand that, but there's no tears on this ice. I say, you know, just
You know what? For you, okay.
I just watched Blood In, Blood Out, so it's fresh. But
Marcos wants to
you
know
know,
if that is a calcetin on your mic, and yes, it is. It is a professional
it
black
is
sock. Thank you very much.
right. I just changed out for my white sock because I wanted to look professional.
Yes,
You know,
professional.
but
You put
I would never do tiers. I want to find a nice price in between that people can get the full access because you know, just like a lot of us, you know, a lot of people struggle. Even when the economy's good, people still struggle. People have, you know, priorities, and if they want something that I'm offering, I know how it is to be on the other side, where like,
yeah.
damn, I can afford X amount of dollars, but if I had three more dollars, I can get this better, more, you know, in depth thing that they're offering, but I can't afford that, so I'm just going to get the basic
So
version. You
do
know, I
like
don't want that.
$3.75.
You know, and I want, and it's going to be the same access for everyone. It wouldn't be, you know, oh, you can only afford this. No, I
So
don't want
how?
that. That's
Okay,
one thing I don't want.
having said that, okay, so let's, okay, you're talking about doing a Patreon, right? Which I completely support because I obviously would subscribe to it. So where are you going to separate podcasts from Patreon, from subscription? What is going, so, okay, you mentioned you're going to put your spooky stuff on subscription, right? So
Right.
what do we get on the podcast still? What are we going to get, like sprinkles of spooky stuff? Are we going to get anything spooky
The only thing that you would get is what stories, like little audio clips of what stories are going to be
on
presented on
Patreon?
the Patreon. Yeah, I mean, I can't, and that's the main thing is that I when I first started the spooky stories, I wrote so much in such a little time. I was trying to pump them out every week, just like I was doing my regular podcast. And I burned my little hamsters out. My hamsters were like, "Yo, I'm tapping out, fool. I need a cheddar and I need some Funyuns or something, fool. My head hurts, you know." And so, and then working graveyard and then being unhappy at the job I was at, it was literally sucking all of the enjoyment that I had for writing stories completely out of my body. And I'm like, you know what, fuck this. I'm not going to do it anymore. And then I was like, oh, I'll do it every once in a while. Then it moved to once a month, and then I haven't done it. I haven't done it in so many months, and I've actually been getting a couple of people, not not an overwhelming amount, but I've gotten a couple of people who are like, "Hey, man, where's your stories at? I kind of miss them, and not kind of, but I kind of want to hear them. You know, I've actually enjoyed really listening to your stories, but I haven't heard any in a while. What the fuck, man? Where's it at?" And so with that, like I said, I don't want. I'm not going to share any spooky stories unless it's let me see, unless it's like a special or something that's going to tie into the episode. And of
That
course, you
makes
know, it's going to
sense.
be
I get
for the
that.
whole world to enjoy. But for the stories alone, no, I'm not going to have anything on that on my regular podcast. It
So
will be a
Marcos is
whole
saying, so
different.
the only thing we would hear on the regular podcast are teasers, right? Teasers for for the Patreon.
Correct.
I completely support that because when you say how much, when you talk about how much work it takes to put, to put one together, I completely understand. I mean, I don't even probably have half as much work as you have to put into it. So even with that, I completely understand. So I would definitely support your Patreon subscription for the spooky stories because not only are they spooky, but you like introduce us to shit that we never knew even existed. All those games that you're talking about, all those urban legends, I knew nothing about them. But when I read them, I'm like, holy shit, why would people do this? It's like, it's stuff that
Yeah.
really, really scares you. You know what scared me? The elevator game. It took me like 4 or 5 listens to figure out, to get the instructions. And I was like, what? And then I have to go back and
Exactly.
God forbid I would to eat and take a bite into my English muffin and be distracted for 2 seconds. Cause then I'm like, what did he just say about the first floor? And I have to go back at least 5 or 6 times to figure it out. But what I'm saying is like that stuff is worth subscribing to a Patreon because it's like your own little spooky club. It's like, oh God, I'm gonna go, go listen to my Patreon because I know that it's just all the spooky stuff that he's put really hard work into and he's doing it just for us. It's like he's doing all this
Yeah.
work for us. And I would completely, I know that all of us would support you and we would subscribe to it 100%. So I definitely think that you should do that. Definitely. Oh, he said, oh, I think he should, Marco says, I think he should interview more people to further build spooky stories, and this also gives him a break. Oh, that makes sense.
That is actually a very good point. That when you hear that when I have someone on the show, if it's you or if like Eve S. Evans, which I mean Eve S. Evans was a goal, it was a target that I was trying to get.
And
However,
congratulations on that.
thank you. That is why I have people on the show, so I can take a break from doing research. So all I have to do is just have a conversation. That's all
Yes.
it is. Especially with you, when you and I are on there, I don't have to think. I don't have to. All I have to do is text you. Okay, follow up on this topic. We're going to talk about this, and then boom. I don't have to do anything. That's
Just so
it. I don't
everybody
have to do
knows,
anything for that week.
yeah, just so everybody knows, we don't do any prep. The only prep we do, as far as I'm on my end, is getting my technology up to point, which fucking sucks. But aside from that, we don't prep. We don't have pre-conversations.
Nothing.
We don't have anything. We literally have the one text. Boom. Get ready for
Yep.
this, and that's it. That is literally all
Yep.
we do, and it's so easy. And just like with when I was talking to Marcos too, and Elizabeth was a little bit different because she was all a little bit paranoid about she wanted like an outline and shit, but that's just how it is. Like, okay, for example, with Marcos, it's like, oh, Marcos says you definitely have his payment for the Patreon, you have his support on that,
Sweet.
and so, but it's all we do. It's just one text, and that's it, and we come on, and it just smooth, just melts like butter. That's all it is.
Yeah. And that's whenever I do that, that's one of the reasons. I mean, not on top of having the fun conversations with people, it's because I need a break. It's because I'm over. I'm not overwhelmed, but it's kind of like I'm overworked with
Hmm.
working at my regular job now Monday through Friday, and working 10, 12 hours, and then trying to come home and then do research. And then I mean I get up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to get ready for work, and so by the time I get home I'm burnt. I'm like, oh, I gotta do research. No, I don't. I'm just gonna go to sleep. And so there's times where, like lately, well, when I was working graveyard with McLean, I had no desire to do any research, and so a lot of my shit was that morning, if not that my whatever day off I had, and I was half asleep trying to do good research. And there's times where I was recording my show and I'm reading like, what the fuck did I write? What does that even mean? I have no idea what the hell this is. And so my research started becoming sloppy, which meant that I had to do more editing, and it was just a snowball effect to where it was affecting my show. But now that I'm working days, which I absolutely love,
Also,
I can
congratulations
come
on the new
home.
gig. You got a new job, so
Oh, thank
congratulations
you,
on that.
very much. And when I get home on Friday, like yesterday, I knocked out like 80% of my research, which was great. I knocked out because I mean it was an easy. By the way, it's going to be Cinderella Origins that's going to be
Oh,
released today, so that's a fucked up ass one, but not as bad as Pinocchio. But that one was jacked up too. But I knocked out 80% of the research last night, and I just finished the rest this morning. And then I recorded. I finished recording when you messaged me earlier saying, "Hey, are you ready?" I was like, "No, nope, not yet. I need to record. I'm almost done. Almost done." So once we get done, just a quick little edit and done because I had enough energy. I had enough. My cognitive functioning was fine. So the show notes were.
you're
I mean
coherent.
the research was great and it was clear. I knew what the hell I was talking about. So editing isn't going to be nearly as long. So, but it's a I don't know where I went off. I don't know why I
Well,
even
I'm
got started
glad.
on that
Well,
topic.
it was where the point was putting how much work you put into
Oh
the
yeah,
spooky stories and having,
yeah,
like Marco said, having somebody. Oh, Marco
on
says,
the
I'm
show
proud of him. Flatbed all day, all the way. I don't know what that
all
means.
the way. Ain't
Okay.
nothing finer than a flatbedder.
Okay. We're gonna leave that up to
Gucci
you
gang.
guys. That's your guys' thing. But yeah, you were the point was talking. Marcos was saying that you should have more interviews to give you a break, and you were saying that that's why you were having interviews was not only because of the person you were having, but because it was allowing you the opportunity to take a breather from all the work and all the research you had to do for your spooky
Yeah,
stories or your podcast in general. But you did mention that spooky stories take a tremendous amount more time, or they require more work from you to publish or to create or to produce. That would be the word.
yeah. It's the spooky stories. Whenever I write the stories, it's not something that just oh hey, like it's not like a fluff piece where I'm just like, oh, okay, I can write this, that, and then boom, it's done. No, I start thinking about it weeks in advance before I even start writing. Like, damn, is this gonna sound good? Then I'll mull it over, go, 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 and I'm like, yep, fuck it, I'm writing it. Like my one that I've stuck to over and over is the serial killer that I have on my spooky story that is a frequent it's a frequent story that I'm completely not infatuated, but invested in on growing who he is because nobody knows who he is.
Who is it? What are you
You
talking
know,
about?
Mr. Smile.
Oh, you
Yeah.
should have a serial killer series
As far as the stories
on your podcast
or the
because you do talk
podcast.
about a lot of the killers. Just
Yeah,
a
they're
time
on there
out.
too.
Marco says, as a little brother, I feel like a big brother, seeing him grow to the full potential of his driving career. Maybe he could. Oh, that was your trucking thing.
Oh,
Another thing he says, well, another comment he says is maybe he could reach out to an asylum also, or even houses. Ooh. As far as reaching
reach
out to
out to
like
what?
people that work there or people that live in haunted houses, can you clarify that for us a little bit? What could you do that? Interview
Could I
people that have
what?
worked like in asylums or that live in haunted houses? I mean, obviously we live in a haunted house, but
Well, since we're on the topic, that is actually in the works as we speak.
which one?
Is to talk to people who've lived, stayed, and kept up haunted houses and asylums who've worked in there. So
Oh,
I am
see?
actually in
Look
the
at your
works.
psychic brother over
This is
here. See, Marcos? That's
this
already in
is
the works.
yeah, they saying this that big head was there for nothing. That shit like a magnet for information. But it's the I've been talking to a few people. I'm not gonna say their names yet because it's not
Right?
agreed and you know we haven't closed the deal. But the couple of these people have actually had real encounters with really bad shit in haunted houses. Where one actually had a seance go really bad. One actually did
Oh,
an exorcism on someone with who was possessed. So these are a couple people that I've actually been talking to and communicating with here. Eve actually sent me out their names to get in touch with them, and they're awesome people as well.
so
So
you've been communicating with them already?
I have.
That's
We are
great.
in
That's
talks on
great.
trying to set up a date and how it's going to roll and what what are the non subjects and non conversations that they want me to not talk out for whatever personal reasons they have, which I completely respect and
Hmm.
understand. But in the coming weeks, maybe months, I don't know exactly because they're pretty busy towards the end of the year. That I might have, not I might, but I will have a couple people who had some really bad experiences in haunted houses or asylums and an experience with an exorcism. So
That's awesome. That's very exciting. See, and that is 1,000% Patreon material right there.
that's what I was thinking too. Because I mean, yeah, that's stuff that's some behind the scenes
Hmm.
great top rate notch stuff right there. So
I agree.
yeah, I just don't know how to work it out yet. Like I said, I don't want to seem like I'm leaving anyone out, and I
It's
don't want to
not,
do
I don't think that you're leaving anyone out. I think that it's like a little something special that you're doing for people. Like I said, it's like a little club. Oops, my
yeah.
bad. Sorry. It's like I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I completely support it and I am for it 100%.
Yeah, it's like I need to work out the deets so I can get it rolling because I have some stories that are burning in my tablet right now or in my notebook. What do they call them? Do they call them notebooks still? Do they call them?
I call them notebooks,
Yeah.
but
So I
me
have
and you
some.
we're ancient. We still use stone to write. We're still using
I
our
know.
stone tablets, so I will never leave it. I am a writer. I like pen to paper. I love the feeling. I like the
Me
cramping of the
too.
figures. I love it all. You will never take me away from pen and paper, ever.
Nope. Well, can you imagine? I wonder. Well, I mean, it must be a little easier, but I remember our older sister with the stone and the hammer and stuff, the chisel. I mean, how did that work for
She's
her hand?
gonna,
I wonder if she has.
she's gonna kick your ass. She so is.
I wonder if she has the carpal tunnel or something from the effects of the vibration
She
from the hammer.
has it from cutting. She shut your face. Oh, Marco says,
Yeah,
Marco says,
yeah, cutting.
Marco says, dude, he is a, dare I say, ghost hunter. You see what he did there? You see what he did there? I see what you did there, Marcos. And I know how he said it, so I did the voice because I
Yeah,
knew exactly how he
yeah.
meant it.
So now that we're on live and he's on live, I
Yes.
might as well try to make the offer out to him. Is I actually want to get Marcos on my podcast so he can share what he shared with you on your live with mine.
Yes.
So
Marcos, are you down to do it one more time? One more time for the gram.
get on the pony.
One more time, Marcos. One more time for our brothers podcast. And this time they're not going to see your face, obviously. You don't have to get scared. But
No,
yeah,
I don't. Yeah, I don't do video.
you're doing video now.
Well, it's different because I'm a guest for you. I'm not doing it
Yes,
on my
and
own.
I am not gonna lie, I love it when my family comes on because like we talked about it before, it's there's not much effort in creating the conversation or creating a flow. There's not much effort at all. And so,
Yeah. If I think one of the big things that I have with me on for doing the video podcast with me and my guest is that I don't want that awkward stare in silence when we both run out of something to say or something is said wrong and we're just like, you know what I mean?
yes. Now I have to cut you off real quick and read this
Okay.
two part chat. The first one says, serial killer. I would love to be a part of that series. I love the thought process of the human mind and why it does wrong. The second one was said, meet the Flintstones, aka our sister. I am not going to jump on that wagon. I am not going to do it. Wow.
Dang.
I
She had.
am not going to get on that. I know. I am her only sister. I am not going to. Nope. Mm-mm.
Golly.
You guys are too much. So Marcos, he extended the invitation to you to come to be a guest on his podcast to talk about just one more time everything that you shared when you were live with me. So I hope that you are down because I would love to hear it. I'll again, that episode is definitely a Patreon type thing
Yeah, I
also.
agree for the details and for the in depth
Yeah,
experiences that you
firsthand
had.
experience. That was
Yeah.
yikes. So that's extended out to you.
So
Go
I
ahead.
wonder what would be what's I mean what's scarier? I don't know if scary is a word, but I mean what's worse? I mean, Marco's dealing with the experiences that he had, or our sister dealing with like T Rexes and Velociraptors back in.
If she was on now, she would call me on Skype, jump on this call, and lay into you. You know she would. Sister, just so you know, I did not have anything to do with that. Oh man, she's gonna drive her ass up to San Antonio and she's gonna see you. She's going to see you.
Right. It's a valid question.
And see, Marco said yes in all caps. He said,
To
yes, the
what's
question
worse?
you asked. No.
Oh, okay.
He was
Okay. Then you good.
no, he
Then
was high-fiving that question.
we'll work the deets out on the setup for the
Yes, when
schedule because
you
I know
got yeah.
his days off rotate and
Yeah. So you guys can chit
mine.
chat about that and figure that
I'm
out.
one of those corporate guys now. I get some Saturday Sunday off. You know.
Me too. I get every day off.
Yeah, that's see, and that's why now that you're off, you have the chance to grow and build your brand more than ever.
And that's what I've been yes, it that was how I thought it was going to go. And yes, I'm doing that, but it's turned into a lot more the healing thing is still it's taking
Yeah.
a lot longer than I thought.
You,
And so
one of
that
the
sucks.
one of the hardest things that I never realized was going to be hard was building yourself, like a brand for yourself. I never knew
Mhm.
how difficult. And me, our family isn't really. It's not that we're shy because I mean, well, see, okay, hold on, let me back up. When I was a kid, my the kids and Teresa do not believe that I was shy when I was a little kid.
We
They
were.
think that the way that I am now is the way I've been my entire life. And I was like, no,
We were
I
both
was,
super shy. That's what people say about me
yeah.
too.
It's like it was so bad that I couldn't even order a paleta from the paleta man because I
That's
was
how
so
Aisha is.
shy
That's exactly how Aisha
to
is.
say, can I get a limon from La Rosa? I was so shy. I couldn't. I mean, when people called on me in class, I couldn't even answer the question because I was so shy. Well, fast forward now, like when I in junior high and high school, I'm like, yeah, fuck it, I am who I am. If that's the worst thing that people can tell me is no. I mean, there's nothing worse than that. I mean, I got hit in the head already, so it's not a big deal. But one of the hardest things that I've encountered with my podcast is getting people to listen to my podcast. It's not that. I mean, me personally, I think that I have some good material. Are all my episodes 100% top notch? No, of course not. My early ones were really, you can hear my uneasiness and hear how difficult it was for me to try to give flow. But as the episodes progressed, I started becoming more comfortable on the mic and having just a regular conversation and detail. But one of the hardest things is saying, "Hey, listen to my podcast," because I hate when people do. It reminds me of those hookers that would walk up to you and give you their card in Vegas. Like, I don't want this. You know what I mean? And that's how I feel. It's like, "Hey, what are you doing, man? Nothing. Okay, listen to my podcast." What the fuck, dude? Right in the middle of chopping wood. Well, why would I listen to your podcast? I'm trying not to cut my leg off. Stuff like that. So building my brand has been really difficult. And one of my biggest things is I want to make people happy and appreciate what I put out. So merchandise has been something that I've been trying to get together. Which Krista Cat is my artist. She's the one who draws and puts my thoughts into what I want, and she does a phenomenal job. There's a picture that I have in my phone right now that is going to become a coffee cup, and it is me in interviewing a reptilian and a gray in a podcast,
Hmm.
and it is the most fucking awesome picture that I've seen.
I can't wait to see the mug.
But I've been hesitant because I don't want to put it out, and then people are like, "Oh, well, I don't want that." And then now, it's not that I care what they think. I care about satisfaction. I want them to be happy with what I put out, and I don't want something to be cheap and not appreciated. Like, "Oh man, this is really cool. Thank you." But so putting myself out there and talking about myself and building myself up is something really difficult that I've fought with and dealt with since I started my podcast, and it sucks
It
to
sucks because
to
it's
cut it short.
scary. It sucks because it's scary. I've been wanting, as cheesy as it may sound, I want to like do pens and notepads because I'm a stationary type person. So I want to put the pens out that say Goddess Guidance with my website. I want to I am going to have a t-shirt made that says Goddess Guidance on it. But my problem is I don't have a logo. I don't have a logo at all. And I don't know if I should just, put it in words or do something and figure out a logo because I don't know I have no idea. And I know that there is a person that has reached out to me because she does a lot of the logos and a lot of the branding displays for a lot of the hey for a lot of the hold on, I gotta fix my video for a lot of the can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can
For
hear you.
a lot of people in the spiritual community, and she does amazing work, and I've spoken to her already, but I am not, and her, I, it's not in my budget right now. So that's not something that I can do at all. And like, I don't even know how long, but I don't want to wait that long. I want to still do things. So I think that I'm just going to do the t-shirt. I'm like revealing all my secrets. I think I'm going to do the t-shirt with just the words for the sake of getting it out there and just going from there. Like get
You're
t-shirts
you're
like for my sister, for like you, like get t-shirts for us that are everywhere or get something for us so that at least I'm out there in that manner. Does that make sense? What
but
I'm trying to say?
yeah, but your video is frozen. But besides that, you said you're gonna make one for our sister. How are you gonna find woolly mammoth skin? That doesn't.
You are going to get in so much trouble. So much trouble. You know that? So much trouble.
There you go. You're not frozen
Okay.
anymore.
So much very trouble. Man, she's going to listen to this probably tonight. She's going to watch this
Yeah.
and you are in so much
Where's
trouble.
where's my supposed to be? High five.
Oh, he said, my brother, in regards to the branding, he said, some of the greatest people have said that brand isn't what I am, but a product of what I have been through, and now I am living better. What do I have to show the people who I once was? Oh, wow, that was fucking deep, yo.
Right, but that's the biggest thing. That's the hardest part
How do you
is
show them?
exposing. Yeah, how do
How
you
do
show
you show
something
them?
that you have reserved for only yourself and your immediate family? It's really difficult to show who you are without being. I'm not gonna say offended because I'm not offended by a lot of things, but being shot down and unmotivated or getting off your goal when people don't respond when you're putting yourself out there with so much passion and so much conviction, and you don't get the response that you're looking for. So it's one of those to where you're reserved because you don't want the negative outcome, but at the same time, you realize that who you are truly is something that can benefit and relate to a lot of people. So
He also
it
says, never lose yourself in what is, but always push for what it's going to be. And the note of a good artist is leave the fans with a cliffhanger. I get that because if I see your mug somewhere, I'm going to be like, ooh, well, what's that? And then I'm going to go check it out, you know? Like, what the heck is the
right.
Graveyard Grumbler? And why is he interviewing this reptile? You know, that's what I get in terms of the cliffhanger. So I think that in response to what you were saying, if we're gonna put something out there, we're gonna put it out there because we want to put ourselves out there, and we're not going to worry about being shot down, because if we live in that fear, that's ego talking, and we're never going to get past it, and we're never going to achieve the things that we want to, because we're too busy about being judged. We're too worried about being shot down or if people not liking it. And I think that the only accommodation that we need to be concerned with is, like you said, making it financially available to as many people as possible, because we come from that. We know what it is to see something and be like, dang, I am not able to afford that, or that's not
Yeah,
necessary, that is
exactly.
nowhere in my budget. We come from that. This is who we are. So I think that is the only concern that we should have. And I can say this because it's taken me a long time to overcome those that I can't even think of it. It's taken me a long time to get past that negative self-talk and just finally just close my eyes and jump. Just close my eyes and create my website, create my Facebook page. Just close my eyes and create my website. Just close my eyes and tell people I do intuitive readings. Even though I have to say that I have people on my Facebook, my friends that come from very religious aspects in their life. They're not they're not Bible thumpers, but what I mean is their way of life is that of whatever religion or whatever denomination that they're a part of. And I've seen them make comments about psychics or the type of work that I do, and not using my name or saying it specifically to me, but as the community as a whole. And at first it stung and I took offense to it, and that right there is the reason why I don't close my eyes and jump all the time. That's the reason I'm a little bit more reserved about what it is that I post, or what it is that I tell people that I offer, or what it is that I do.
Yeah,
And I think that because it's a friend, and I know it's not directed at me, but because I can see these things being said, I think that still kind of affects me just a little bit. But I've come a long way from completely hiding it and not saying anything, or worrying about what people are going to say, or worrying about how, if people were going to like it, or if even people were going to understand it or want to be a part of it. I've come a long way from that. I've gotten to the point where, like I said, I'm just closing my eyes and I'm jumping. It's like, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to put out there. And le gusta quien le gusta, like my mom says. And
yep,
that's just how it
that's
has to
true.
be now. I have to carry that mentality. Literally, le gusta quien le gusta, because I can't do anything else about that. If I start worrying about being shot down, or people not liking it, or people not being interested, now all of a sudden I'm infringing on my dream. Now I'm infringing on my purpose, or why I was even doing this to begin with.
Right. That's that's true. I mean, it's like without any chances, you never know how far we're gonna go.
Yeah, you
That's
literally have to just close your eyes and jump.
yep, yep. Quick note. I mean, quick change of tune, real quick. Uh, that that your friend, and which she's a follower of mine now. I believe the gal's name is Tiffany.
Uh-huh.
Is that the gal from Ohio?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, shout out to her, and thank you very, very much for all the support and following my podcast. I greatly appreciate it. She followed my Instagram and other stuff, so I greatly appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Hopefully, you like the stuff.
Shout
I
out to
just want to give a quick
Tiffany.
shout
Thank you
out.
for supporting me,
Shout
and
out,
thank you for
Tiffany.
supporting my brother. So that's awesome.
Wait, well, don't take my shout out, sucker. That was my shout out.
You
You
started
can't
it. I
steal
can
my
finish it.
thunder.
I can finish
That
it.
boy, I tell you, I'm stealing my thunder.
Too late.
I tried to
Thunder
give a
is.
personalized shout out to Tiffany, and you just stole
And
my
she
thunder.
received it. She heard it. I did not speak in the midst of it. You had the opportunity to say whatever you wanted to say. I didn't steal your limelight.
It's messed up.
So Where are you going from here? Okay, is your next move, now that you have these super awesome things in the work? I mean, you had this, had your the guest appearance by an author, by someone amazing, someone out there in the community, especially in the paranormal community. You achieve that goal. Now you're talking about having these interviews with people, like you said, in regard associated with asylums and haunted houses. Is your next step to create this Patreon as these things are in the works, or are you going to continue to do these things and put them out on your podcast as you look into the Patreon thing? What are you going to
You're
do from here?
you're frozen again.
Can you hear me though?
I can hear you. I can hear you
Okay, I was
perfectly
so
fine.
so what are you going to do
But
next?
what my there you go. My initial plan, the Patreon thing just literally popped in my head the other day. It just popped on my head and popped in my head. I'm like, fuck, I can get some motivation. I mean, because I want to make it clear that it's not a money grab. It's not a money grab by any means. You know, if whatever I receive from the Patreon will actually go into buying me my notebooks and my pens, well, not my pens, but my refills, it's more like motivation to keep going. But initially, what I'm specifically going to start the Patreon for is for the spooky stories. And as that spooky stories progress, then I will add interviews with people who maybe I write a story about, an asylum or a haunted house or, something in that to where someone has experienced it, like you mentioned earlier, and like I mentioned a little bit ago too, that if I had my Patreon started and I wrote a story of an exorcism that happened in a house that went bad or a seance that went bad, then after I read these stories, then on a follow up episode, I can have these people on there and it'll be 100% Patreon content. So yes, to shorten up the answer, yes, it is going to be for the spooky story related only. So on my regular podcast, if I'm doing an episode about like the origins, and I mean, all these origins were written fucking 50, 60, 70, 100 years ago. But if I was able to find, say, that the author who actually wrote the story, or someone who illustrated it, then I'll have them on just my regular podcast because that has to do with what I'm talking about.
Mm,
I'm not going to take the content of my everyday podcast and put it to where you have to pay for it now.
I see.
That's not what I'm going to do. The Patreon is specifically for spooky stories only. That's
Okay.
all it's going to be, unless again I have something that's relating to the story that I wrote or that someone else shared. Like if I had written all these stories and then and then I read, say, some of Eve's books on my spooky stories, then I could have had her on my Patreon interview because it had to do specifically with the spooky stories that I read from her book. So it's all has to do with the spooky stories only. I'm not going to take any content off of my regular podcast because that's not something that I feel is fair to people who supported me since January. That oh, now I have to pay for his regular content. Fuck this fool. Catch me in the rebound.
Then that's
So
exactly, I mean, I would
yeah,
say that. Okay, so now we can look forward to more stuff, more non-spooky content on your podcast, and that's going to go forward, full steam ahead. And we can also look forward to you creating a Patreon for the spooky stuff, right?
correct.
Good. We're excited about that. And you heard it here first, guys. Wait. Sorry. You heard it here first. We got a Patreon that's coming up, and we have more episodes coming up on the regular podcast. So we're all excited about that. Speaking of having guest appearances, I still want the three of us to come on together and have the conversation about the spooky stuff.
The three oh Marcos.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. I
I
thought you were
still
talking
want the
about
three of us to come on. Are you guys still open to that?
I'm fine with it. I mean, my schedule. Let me look. Oh yeah, Saturday and Sunday off. So
I'll have to get back check mine.
Marcos
Excuse
would have to
me.
check his rotation on his days off.
And we'll figure it out. So we'll set it. We'll see. The thing is, Marcos can't really set a date ahead of time.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hit and
Well, I mean,
miss.
which I mean, it's I don't know how to put it out, but I'm really glad that our older sister isn't a part of all of this stuff. Not that saying that I don't want her a part of it, but it's really hard to try to do a live on Etch a Sketch. It's just one of those.
Wow, I cannot. You are so far deep into your hole. I can't even stop see the top of your head anymore. I cannot. Although that shit was funny. So, Marcos is asking, would you ever take a trip around Texas and visit some of the scary places that are near you, like maybe do a vlog for that session?
uh, I wouldn't do vlogs because I'm not a video person. The editing for me personally, I don't. I'm real anal about editing. I want everything to sound, look, and be to the crispest way that it possibly can be. So videoing stuff would not be my
Forte?
my forte. But however, we were no we but that is something that I want to do, is go around and check out all the haunted places that we have here in Texas. San Antonio has a bunch of it just alone. And to get it out to the people, I haven't figured out how that's going to be. I don't know if that's going to be. Go ahead.
I have an idea. Your video is not your forte, so why not send your kids out to do that video session and bring it back to you for editing? Or they can go live and do it, take that out, and I mean, obviously you'll be with them, but take that out and let them do that live for you, do that video session for you.
It all depends on how much time they have. They these the two older ones, the two Victoria and Carissa Cat, have the most overwhelming schedule
Eesh,
when it comes to school that I have ever seen a kid go through. Victoria literally has like 12 hours of homework once she's done.
I can't,
And
no.
with all this video, the Zoom calls and all that stuff, they are on there from like Leo. He's on there from 8 9 I think 8:30 a.m. until like 4:30 p.m. and then he
Damn.
still has a few hours of schoolwork that has to be done post
What grade is
Zoom.
he in now?
He's in middle school. He's sixth grader.
Sixth grader. He's with Alex,
Yeah,
huh?
and yeah. Alex
Sixth
and
grade.
him are on the same age, and Elena.
Oh yeah, the three of them. That's right.
Yeah, the three of them. And with Carissa Cat, same thing with her. She's doing the advanced schooling, and then she has her musical theater, which they're finally trying to figure out the safest way for them to meet. And then she's going to be going every day for theater rehearsals. And then Mika with her mariachi and her swimming, they don't have time to entertain and edit stuff that I mean they'll have fun doing it, but I don't want to pile up more of an obligation
Right.
for them
Maybe
to
in
get
the
it done. You
future,
know what I mean?
maybe in the future, like next summer or something when their schedule is, lightens up. So maybe that's something we could do in the future. Or you
That's what
could
I
do in the
thought too.
future rather.
But unfortunately, Victoria's going to be going to college right after high school, so she's going to be
Well,
booked
they're
up
still, I mean,
doing
Carissa and Leo are still there.
doing
They
her
could
pre
still do it.
books. Yeah, but I mean, I don't the video. I don't know. I might just strap on a GoPro on my forehead and
Yeah,
just
why
just
don't
go
you?
for
Stop
it to
being a
where
big
I'm
baby
out
and
of
just
it.
go do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. I need to get a trusty sidearm because I'm not going to get caught slipping. Crackhead trying to come at me
Marco
because I'm
says
not
he
going to
gets
have that.
days off now, so we could set up the meeting up on the live with the three of us.
Yeah, he has days off. He has the rotating. That's what I was trying
So
to tell you.
we should, well, so whatever day works for him, as long as it's a weekend, you're down, and then obviously I'll be available.
Yeah,
So,
weekends are, I mean, only weekends for me. You know.
so Marcos, pick a day that works for you. Obviously, it had to be a weekend for Dino, and then we could go from there. So, I mean, you have a
Um,
lot of things coming up. You have a lot of creative projects that are starting to bloom from just a little seedling of a podcast that you planted, well, almost a year ago, and I can't believe how much everything has grown for you. I can't believe how exposed, that sounds weird. How much exposure, there, that's better. How much
yeah,
exposure that you've received from the different avenues, from word of mouth, from sharing, from just all kinds of different things. I can't believe how much exposure you've gotten and how many great things have come about it. For example, you interviewing Eve S. Evans, you are getting feedback from people that have been listening to other major podcasts that are now coming to you. You get what I'm saying?
yep,
Excuse me, sorry. And it's like I'm I'm proud of everything that has come about. I'm so proud of everything that you've accomplished and how you're going about just, I guess, attacking all these things that you're intrigued by and doing your research and whatnot. So, congratulations on that, brother. I'm very happy for you.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Marco says he'll fly to you and GoPro alongside with you.
Just as long as there's no spiders, right?
So, Marco, apparently you're afraid of spiders. So, there could be all the demons and shit in the world, just no
Right, but
spiders.
just no spiders, then it'd be over.
Just take your little spray thing, the little pump, the psh, 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 and the pump thing. Just take that, and you guys will be
Yeah.
just fine. All right. So if there's, let's bring this to a close. I don't even know how long we've been on. It's like 3 o'clock now. So is there anything else? Is there anything that you want to share with us? Anything that you want us to know? Please do so now.
Anything that you want me to know, or that I want you to know? Just the podcast itself. I mean, when you initially messaged me about the live, you wanted to talk about the what was that other subject? Because on my podcast, I mentioned to Eve that I was never fully convinced or believed on I don't know what it's called, but the stuff that you do, like the curandera and the
Intuitive
bruja and all
readings
that.
and yeah.
Yeah, you see, growing up, we always were taught that that was taboo, that it was bad, that it was
The
a
devil and
smoke
stuff.
screen. Yeah, So that's all I knew, and I actually wrote a story about witches, which I mean it was completely stereotypical, and it wasn't anything malicious. It was just something that popped in my head. I'm like, oh fuck, I'm gonna write it. And of course, I completely missed the mark on what the modern, I wouldn't say modern, but the reality of being a bruja or a witch really is. And just like everything else, you have the extremists, the non-extremists, you have the good and the bad. And I never, ever, ever in my wildest thoughts even knew how, I mean, little I knew about what was actually the description and what was actually done by curanderas. You hear like the medicine man, and I'll say like, all right, okay, cool, this is fake. But now that I started learning about it, started researching, and when on the podcast on the show, Eve checked her crystals to see if they were clouded up, and she mentioned that she was never a believer in the crystals either. So I brought all that up to actually ask a few questions. So number one, is it how? Hold on, let me see. So being in the field that you are and realizing your gifts, because you're always mentioning your gifts, you're always mentioning, I don't want, I'm happy, I'm learning how to deal with it, I'm embracing, use words like that, but never ever have I ever heard you use I was forced, or I don't have a choice, or it's a curse, or it's anything negative. So I don't know if that's part of your enrichment and a part of embracing who you are and who you're becoming and who you and what you've realized you were chosen for, or is it because you're really having a hard time dealing with what's going on and you're just trying to convince yourself that everything's okay? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first part, I'm actually embracing everything, and like my enrichment, my spiritual development, I am embracing it, because once I got educated and I started learning about everything that I was experiencing, or everything that I remember, from my childhood, or from, what, like, Doña Frutosa I was saying, I once I started to learn about all these things that I had experienced, or that I was exposed to, or that I was a part of, I started to understand it. I started to understand that this is literally part of who I am, and I could walk away from it if I want to, but I don't want to. I've grown, and it's not a matter of denial, or not, just trying to convince myself that things aren't okay, because I think things are great. I think that everything that I am a part of and everything that I do is, it's like I can't explain it. It's just, let me clarify. It's not, don't confuse this for love and light. That's not what this is. This is me literally being proud of who I am and understanding and continuing to learn and, embracing my spiritual development. That's what this is. Now, in terms of saying that things are all great, I don't, we'll wait. Okay, so is he back? Buenos Tardes? Are you here? Can you hear me? Oh, there you are.
Are you there?
Boop, I'm back.
All right, there you are. So
So
you
as you're saying, what do you mean that everything is okay? What does that mean? Like, in what
the
context?
on the podcast, on my podcast, you mentioned a couple times that you, because I made a joke on when we were talking about the midnight game and the shadow people, where you about call waiting and how you get messages, and not message, but you get communicated with at random times throughout the day.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter. They don't set up an appointment time, or whatever you're experiencing. It's not. It just happens.
Hmm.
So are you, when that happens? I mean, me personally, again, I've never experienced the in detail what you're experiencing. However, is it overwhelmingly? Is it scary? Do you get nervous? That's what I mean. Are you trying to convince yourself that everything
No.
is okay?
Yes to all of that. I do
Are you
experience those
looking?
things.
Yeah, but I mean, are you
Hmm.
looking for the pot, or like the optimistic outlook on why you're being communicated with, or is it automatically it's evil? It's gonna fuck me up. You know what I mean? Because that's how my brain would work. If
Mm-mm.
I got communicated with something that I'm not ready to, I'm like, hey man, fuck off, fool, don't kill
You
me.
can tell them that. Yeah, but no.
Yeah, but
The excitement and the embracing is the part of literally my spiritual development. Everything that I've learned, everything that I am, everything that I do, that is where the excitement comes from, me embracing it. That's where that comes from. Now, the actual things that happen to me, the actual experiences, yes, I get nervous. Yes, I get scared. Yes, to all those things. Sometimes, not all the times. I get scared because sometimes I don't understand what it is, or I don't understand who it is, or I don't understand why I'm feeling this, or why I'm hearing it, or why I'm smelling it. I don't know the answer to those things. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes it's really stinky. Sometimes and you know what I look out for? You know how all the movies, if you smell rotten meat, it's a demon.
yeah,
I always want, what is that? What was that smell, Mom? What is that? And I always think, I'm like, I swear to God, if I smell some rotten meat, I need to go to church. I need to do something, right? But anyway,
uh,
um, I don't always understand what's happening. Sometimes it's not meant for me to understand. Sometimes it's in passing. Like, dude, I just walked through there and I felt something really weird and I don't want to be a part of it, or I don't know what it was. And then that's it. It was just in that moment or in that place, and that's it. And that's all. I don't have to know the why to everything. Sometimes it's not meant for me to know, but when it is meant, I'm supposed to know, then it happens again and it happens again, or it happens, more in my face, so to speak. And yeah, sometimes I do. Like at night is when I get scared the most. I I don't want to see anything, and I don't want to feel anything, and I don't want to hear anything at night. That's probably when my fear is up the most. But I mean, I know nothing's going to hurt me. I know nothing's going to happen to me because in my home, we are protected and we are safe. That's just what it is. No, even if we had a restless spirit that was coming through, it's never evil and it's never bad. And we just know that for a fact. I can't explain it. We just know it. But for example, my mom has these experiences where she was in bed and she was reaching over facing the wall. And as she was reaching over, she saw an arm reach across her like that, just plain as day. And as she turned around, she saw it just pull back just like that. Those things scare her, but she knew it's not there to hurt her. It's like those types of experiences do scare us. Buggy sees people in the washroom all the time, and to her, it's like she was
yeah.
literally seeing them face to face. So we do have these experiences, and we're not trying to shield or convince ourselves from any of that. We don't need to. We are at the place where we've come to terms with it and we understand it. And like I said, we don't have to know the why to everything, but when we're meant to, it'll just happen more in our face, or it happen more prominently or more consistently. Or I mean, I guess that's the best way I can understand it. But yeah, I get scared, I get nervous, I get all of that. Not all the time, just sometimes, different situations around different people. It's just, it happens.
I never knew that there was a community for. So what is that field called? what is it? Is
I
the
call it
metaphysical? Is it
metaphysical
the
slash spirituality. That's what I call it.
so? I knew that spirituality, that community exists. You look like Rocky. That's how you froze. Adrian. That's how you froze on the camera. I did
Don't
it.
talk about my Rocky
That's how
face.
you.
Am I
That's how
unfrozen at
you're.
least? Am I unfrozen?
No, you're not
I'm
frozen.
gonna fix my face. There. Fix
That's
my
my
face. Whoa.
that's my train of thought. But it was a. I always knew that the spiritual community existed. I always knew that there's not so much where the believers of God. I understand that part. And although
Wait a minute.
although
Are
that
you
hold on.
associating? Go ahead.
Hold on, let me explain because I knew you're going to pause. You're going to say something. However, spirituality I know is an umbrella for religion and non-religion. However, when I started looking more into it and started walking the paths of paranormal and spirituality, I didn't realize that spirituality isn't 100% related to God and religion.
Right.
That spirituality is more of different avenues and different beliefs and different practices that aren't solely Christianity and
Yeah, that
Catholicism
most
and
of the
all
time
that
have
stuff. So
nothing they're not religious at all. Oh wait, just time out real
right,
quick. Marco
yeah,
says the worst for him is midday, knowing what's not truly there and what is, and having the strength to juggle and stay normal. So that's what he says about his experiences.
yeah. Well, tell him don't share anything until he gets on the podcast.
Oh
Don't
yeah,
reveal
see, he
anything.
wants you just until podcast time.
Yeah,
So you were
teasers
saying
only. That's too much. But
you learned that
once
it has. Go ahead.
once I learned that it's more in depth than the actual stereotype that I've always grown to learn and make fun of was that holy shit, there's stuff out here that people like. I didn't know. I knew nothing about crystals. I knew nothing about crystals until you started bringing them up. When you're like, oh, wear this bracelet for this reason or wear this necklace for this reason. I'm like, what? What?
I have to
I'm
send you
not
guys
understanding.
your my little bracelets. We all have them. I got
And
one for everybody.
so just because I wear glasses, I have to have my ojos.
Yes.
Is that what you're trying to
Yes,
tell?
that is correct. We
Messed
all
up.
wear glasses, so
But I didn't realize how not tight, yeah, not tight, but how I'm going to use the word crazy, but not in a bad way. Like how trippy, how in depth, and how uh, the battle of being a spiritual healer or being a healer and a witch, pretty much. I mean, that's the best way. Really is like the whole protection. Like I've had you on the show a few times and asking you, what could we do to protect? And you're like, oh well, there's nothing that you can do because you're just gonna get fucked from the get go because you're messing with something that you shouldn't mess with.
mhm.
And then talking with when I spoke with Eve, I knew nothing about the crystals. I didn't know that if they got clouded, that you can't that's the bad energy that was caught inside of.
It's absorbing it. Yeah, with some
Yeah,
crystals, yes.
yeah, and I didn't
Other
I didn't
ones
know that
just
there's
break.
different
Other ones
levels.
just
Yeah,
break.
I didn't know that there was different levels of crystals again, and this is all stuff where I knew you dabbled in, but I didn't know how in depth and how uh, uh, what's the word? How in depth you are into embracing like you said, like you've been chosen to do. It's crazy that even though you and I know, like I know you, I don't know you fully. I don't know everything, your struggles and the paths and everything that you have been chosen for. And with the whole curandera and the whole thing, I mean, I think it's pretty crazy that I didn't even know that shit was in the family until
Hmm.
you brought it up and you were talking about it. I knew that people. It was just always weird that people went to mom like she was the
Hmm.
weed man. I
Exactly.
never understood that. And then as I got older, like she would, oh, drink this tea or here, do this, or she would, say something or stay quiet for a few minutes and shout out a prayer or whatever it is that she's doing to help heal us, protect us, or do whatever it is that she's doing. It never registered. I never put the blocks together or in the right pieces together to realize that this is what's been going on for decades and for generations over and over and over and over. And of course, just like with everything else, it gets passed through to certain people. And I never knew. I never knew that. It was like I was ignorant to this whole different world. It was like I was Aladdin. It's a whole new world. You know what I mean? It was one of those that it was so crazy that a whole different aspect of spirituality burst open and is there. Now me personally, like I mean I've told you several times, I'm not religious, I'm not spiritual, I'm not any of that. I just go about what it is, but it's so cool to hear and learn and hear people's experiences and battles that they've gone. And that's why I asked you if how do you have such a positive outlook on it when so much negative shit is constantly kicking down your door or kicking at your door trying to break in and fuck you up completely.
I, I stay positive because I love it. I love who I am, and I love that this is I love that this is my life. I love it. It's exciting. I get to learn stuff all the time. I'm happy to help. I like to help people. When it comes to my spiritual development, I enjoy helping people. It's like this, I don't know, it's like when I do readings, it's like I'm taken like to a completely different place, and it's like everything just starts coming out, and then when I'm done it's like I have this high, like I have this rush. It's I can't explain it, but I enjoy doing it. I love doing it, and I am can stay so fantastic about it. Even though, are you talking about all this negative shit like from the spiritual world or from people in regards to spirituality?
All
From
of it.
society? Well, from society, fuck them. First of all,
Well, yeah.
I've learned to be better about it in terms of not giving a shit about what people say, because they're rude, dude. They cut you deep. Like they
No.
say some mean shit, but it's like you, first of all, you're just ignorant as shit, so I don't care. And if you really have that problem, then get out of my face. Why are you still here? That's the
Yeah, you're the
approach that I've
one.
had, and thankfully I have not had too much to deal with. I've had a sprinkle of it, and I'm thankful for that. But I feel whatever I'm meant to deal with will cross my path when it does, and at that point I will obviously be equipped to handle it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be thrown in front of me. I'm gonna learn something from it. And in terms of like all the spiritual scary stuff, well, I do my best to learn and learn, always keep learning, so that when the day comes that I have to battle something or I have to protect, or something evil is in my face, or comes my way or whatever, I'm going to be able to protect myself and protect my family and protect my home. I'm going to be able to do that.
Right. You're frozen again, by the way.
Ay, Jesus Maria. That you know
So
that
I have a serious question, but even though it's not going to sound serious, it is a serious question.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, you're frozen again.
I
How'd you
just
freeze?
unfroze myself.
Okay, so we have.
Am I
So
back on?
I'm gonna. No, you're still frozen.
How about now?
There you go.
Okay.
All
You
right.
have
So
what?
I have a serious question, although it's not going to sound serious, but I'm 100% serious. So the
Okay.
crystals that can capture the negative energy and how they go clouded and they're caught inside of the crystals, and you're supposed to dispose of them accordingly, right? I don't know how you're supposed to throw them away, burn them. I don't know what you're
No
supposed to do.
burning.
So if I have a box full of these bad energy crystals, am I able, without having the juju get stuck on me, go and drop it off to, say, someone I don't like?
No, you can, and it'll probably like muck up their day. Like they'll kind of feel like, just how you felt when the negative energy was around. Like, you were just kind of sucky, kind of whatever. You can do it, but it may not work because it's all absorbed. It's all absorbed in the crystals, so it's not out.
Um,
The purpose of the crystals was to have absorbed them. Now, having said what you just said, drop doing something, taking this negativity, something bad, and dropping it off to someone's house that you don't like. Be
yeah.
careful with that, because now you have just opened yourself up for someone doing the same thing to you. Granted, we're kind of always open for something doing bad to us, but realistically, if you don't necessarily initiate it, or you're not part of something malicious or anything like that, you're probably, chances are it's not going to happen to you. I mean, that's it. It can, but it probably won't. But because you are in just your intent is to take something bad and give it to someone else. You've opened yourself up for the same thing to happen to you. You've literally just opened up that pathway. So
Mm.
they could easily return it to you tenfold. Easily.
So,
And it could be something worse. It could be something as simple as they can do something malicious via a letter, right, on paper, and they could give
yeah.
it to you, send it to your house, and it'd be in their handwriting, and you were like, what the heck is this? And you open it, it's there. It's there. They could drop a box off at your house and you open it unknowingly, it's there. It could be in any shape, way, or form, and it's there. It could be in food you eat. You can go to someone's house and they serve you a plate of food and it's there. You got it.
So, I mean, I've mentioned this to you before several times. A couple, no, at least once for sure. I don't appreciate you not giving me the answer I want.
That I will, like I've stated before, if you're gonna work with me or talk with me, I'm never gonna tell you what you want to hear. I'm gonna tell you that what the answer is, or I'm not gonna. Yeah, I don't.
Well,
What did you want me to say?
that yes, it's 100% going to fuck them up, and you're in complete clear because you have nothing to do anymore since you
You're
passed it off to
immune.
someone else. I'm done.
Yeah, negative,
It's messed
negative.
up.
It is messed up, so don't do that.
Well, I know I don't play with that shit anyway, just for the chance that it might. Nope, nope, nope. I don't mess with any of that stuff. Just like the Ouija board, I don't. Nope. An
Yeah.
idea that someone suggested to me was do a podcast while talking to the Ouija board and do an episode about the Ouija board while I'm using the Ouija board. And I kindly said, get fucked. I'm not going to
Nope.
play with that.
If
Just
you
in
ever
case,
did
just
that,
in
don't
case.
call me to fix it. Don't call me.
You're going to be on the episode with me if I ever
Not
did
no
that.
damn
I'm not
Ouija
going to
board.
do that.
That's a hell no. That's
I'll
a
call
hell
you the
no.
Ouija board.
And
It's
nope.
like a rotary phone, isn't it?
It's gonna be like nope, nope, nope. Not gonna answer. I told my mom that when she passes, we're gonna have a seance to connect with her, to talk to her. She said, "No, leave me alone. If I die, that means I don't want you to bother me." So
That's bottom line. It's like I did that for a
so
reason.
we
I just don't
can't,
want to talk to you anymore.
we can't reach out to her because she said no. She died for a reason, so no.
Well, I mean, it's it. I mean that's still a long ways to go. You know what I mean? Because
50
my mom,
years.
yeah, and plus, I mean, think about it. Santo's been around, or Maria's been
Don't
around
do
since what,
it.
like
Don't
BC,
do it.
and
She is going to have your ass so bad when she hears this. She's going to be watching this. She's going to be at home drinking her tecito and watching this podcast on her earphones, and you are going to be in so much trouble.
yeah,
Sister, I had nothing to do with this. Just because it's
this
my
was
live does not mean I have anything to do with it. None whatsoever.
it was pre set up. She fed me the lines to say, so I'm only
Right.
reading
My
what was
sister knows I
suggested.
love her. I would never do such things. So okay, so now you said you didn't know anything about, like you said, just even like the tiniest amount. You barely know that much. So okay, so how do you feel about all of it now? Even when it comes to your podcast and learning stuff about me and just in the community in general, just the topic. How do you feel about it all now? Not just paranormal, but all of it. Where do you stand? How do you feel about it? That was the
I
purpose
have
of
a
this, was to tell us,
yeah.
update us.
I have a lot more respect regarding that avenue or that the metaphysical. I don't think that it's all about sage and crystal balls, which I initially thought that it was. You know, I never understood because we're only fed the taboo, funny stuff
Mm-hmm.
that's regarding the metaphysical. So knowing that my podcast touches a little bit of everything regarding metaphysical, aliens, paranormal, all that stuff. I interact with a bunch of different people, and there's people who 100% wholeheartedly believe in everything that you practice. And it would be douchey of me to cancel them out and completely disregard their beliefs and their passion because I don't or I didn't believe in it or I don't consider it something that's an actual thing that can take place. You know what I mean? So with that said, I have a newfound respect for the metaphysical. You know, the whole tarot cards and all that stuff. Again, I thought that was just one of those funny things that people used when they were trying to scam people.
Parrot cards.
So what's
You
that?
always say I'm reading parrot cards.
Yeah, parrot cards, because
I don't
it
even
was
read
always,
tarot, yo. I don't even do tarot cards.
and it was stuff like, well, I mean, it's all part of the whole metaphysical, that's the tarot cards and all that stuff is all in one. And yet I always thought that it was just a bunch of phony, what's the point? I thought it was like a hobby, until, again, with you educating me on it and other people talking about it, I never realized that it was something that wasn't really, it's something they woke up and said, fine, I'm going to do this now, and this is what's going to be. I didn't know that it was one of those where, hey, I kind of, my path is pointing me to this direction. So yeah, with some resistance, I kind of see where my future and what my chosen gifts or my chosen path has been for me. And not saying that, oh, you're chosen to be a doctor, not that way. I'm talking about
Mhm.
like your
I understand what you're
spirituality,
saying.
and the, I didn't understand how that was not something that you can choose, that it's something that you eventually discover, whether it be early in life, later in life, midlife, it doesn't matter. It's something that's discovered, and you're like, oh shit, when did all this happen? And then you start putting, like you said, going through all the experiences that you had when you were a child, all the way through your teen and adult years, everything starts clicking, making sense, why you felt a certain way, why you had bad days, why you had good days, why you heard things that you didn't think that you really heard. As far as like the communicating part and stuff like that, it everything kind of ties in and makes sense. Like, holy shit, it's just now that I'm realizing what actually I'm gifted with. It's one of those things that I never, again, I always just kind of like, okay, but now again, being educated, it was all ignorance as far as not being educated in the actual topic and subject, which it's crazy again that there's so much to learn about. Even if I'm not practicing it, just learning about it, I'm like, what? What the hell? Why is this a thing? Why are people experiencing this shit? That doesn't make any sense to me right now. And you were mentioning that not only you're not always meant to know why. I'm opposite. I have to know why. Why? Why? I'm like Pinocchio. Why? Why? I,
If
I need a I need an answer. I
you
need
will learn,
why
if
is the reason.
you will learn eventually, when things aren't meant for you to know the why, it will transpire and to the point where you're not going to be able to figure out the why. You're going to realize it's just, you got to just let it go. No matter how much time you spend on it, you're gonna learn that the why is not important. I don't know
But
how it's gonna look, but it'll look that way for you.
I'm not, number one, I'm not frozen, so I'm not gonna let anything go. And I need to get it. Bum, bum. Then let it frozen. Let it go. No.
Anyway, so
It,
I am, go ahead.
everything for me has to have a reason. It doesn't matter if it takes me a day, a year. I have to have a reason. I
Maybe
have
the
to know
reason
why.
is not going to be what you think it is or what it's going to look
It
like, and that's
it
usually how it
doesn't.
happens.
It doesn't matter if it's something. Well, here's the thing with me. When I need to know why, I'm not seeking the answer to fit my criteria. It doesn't matter if the answer is a positive, negative, or anything. As long as I have an answer, I can deal with whatever it is. If it's a bad why, well, that's fucked up. But okay,
So
there's the
maybe
answer.
there not being an answer is the answer.
No, don't give
See?
me that
No,
philosophical
literally,
stuff.
literally, not having a response is an answer. And see how you said that you didn't fit it into your criteria, you weren't going to do it, but you just did by saying no, no, don't hit with that. You just did that though.
Right.
You just
But
so you lied.
no, no, no,
This
no,
is
no,
what the
no,
thing is.
no.
Here's
I'm
the thing.
I'm
You the
simply
you're going the response is going to come in all shapes and forms. And anytime that we pose a question, we already coming out there with a preconceived notion. Not because we're expecting a positive or a negative, but we expect the answer to fit in a square. You might not get a square. You might not get a rectangle. You might get a triangle. You might just get a little cloud shape. Okay. That's what I'm saying. But unfortunately, as human beings, we already come with a preconceived notion when we ask a question or we make a statement. And it's hard to unlearn that. It takes a lot of time to unlearn a lot of the stupid shit that we've learned or unlearn a lot of the ridiculous nonsense that we've been fed. It's hard and it takes a long time to do that. And it takes a
yeah.
long time to realize that shit, I'm coming with a preconceived notion. Let me just try to, don't try to not do that, but rather just acknowledging it helps. Acknowledging the fact that we're coming with the, preconceived notion or a preconceived anything. So just, for that matter, it helps. Awareness in and of itself helps us unlearn those things without even really realizing that we're unlearning it, if that makes any sense. In my head, it makes a lot of sense, but
Not out loud.
in my head, it's just completely just clear as day. But anyway, I'm saying it's like that's like when people ask for guidance of any sort. Like when they come to me for a reading and they're asking this question, and it's like you get this answer. Well, what does that have to do with what I just asked? That is your answer. Just because it didn't look like what you expected it to look like doesn't mean that it's not an answer. That is the answer. You asked a question, this is what came through for you. You ask it again, they're going to say the same thing in different words. You ask the question again, you go ask for another deck, you ask for reading another day. If you ask this question, you're going to get the same concept it's going to come through the same. So it might not come as a square like you wanted to, but this cloud shape is still an answer. See?
I'm not having
it's hard to unlearn it, but and you know what I also
it.
learned that in regards to, and I don't like to speak of this, but it's true. I don't like to speak on it because I don't feel very knowledgeable. But a lot of the stigmas, and is that right? Stigmas? Yeah. Stigmas and
Yeah.
all the stereotypes and all this shit is a lot of colonialism. It's a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of tremendous amount of
Yeah.
colonialism that I'm learning about, like, oh shit, this is right. And the majority of it is that, unfortunately. So I mean
Yeah.
it's a
Well,
lot of shit to deal with, but I'm
the
happy to
main.
hear you say that you've learned and you're learning and that you're open to understanding it.
Yeah.
Understanding me. Because as you learn about
The
that, you learn about me. So
Yeah, there was I mean, like you mentioned about the colonialism. I mean, remember, women were being burned at the stake for being called witches for being able to read and being able to do shit that were normal everyday things. And then as soon as they were doubted with that, I mean, people, and then even the women who had the gifts of their gifts that they were given, they were in hiding.
yep.
And everyone else caught the blame. And yeah, it's 100% colonialism. That's how a lot of our stigmas are brought up and were created, was because of
Yep.
colonialism. Boy, I tell you.
Very much so.
Yeah.
All right, so it's almost 4 o'clock, so let's wrap this up and bring this to an end. Again, is there anything that you want to tell us about your podcast or anything, plans and, you know, news flashes, anything, announcements, anything?
Uh, just that I am working on having a few more guests, and even though that I did mention earlier that it was because I wanted to take a break. This is actually not taking a break. I'm legitimately trying to get them on the show to share their experiences and their findings of what they did. So that I'm pretty excited about that. One of them is an author. I can't remember. I'm not going to reveal any names just yet because I don't want people to like, oh yeah, I know that fool. But one of them, I don't want to get people's hopes up, and then if I can't deliver, they're like, oh man, this fool lied, man, fuck this fool. And another one, she is a medium that was a seance that went really bad,
Ooh.
apparently. Yeah, so I'm in the works of talking to her. Just our scheduling is off. The times that she's available, I'm not available, and the times that I'm available, that she's available, she's not going to be. Uh, Available for podcasting. She has other projects in the works, so scheduling is a big issue. On top of that, the Patreon is a little bubble cloud in my head as far as work. I'm trying to make it to where it's affordable for everyone because, like you mentioned and I mentioned, we've both been on both sides of the dice. Even though it's four sides, we've been on all sides of it. Or we had the money, we didn't have the money, we kind of have it now. We don't, now we do. So I want to make something that's reasonable. Everyone is going to have the same benefit from it. I'm not going to do any tiers. I'm not going to neglect or keep people away because they can't afford an extra dollar or two.
Right.
I'm not going to do that because again, I knew how frustrating it was for me trying to get stuff when I couldn't do the extra dollar or extra 50 cents. So I'm going to think of a price. It'll probably be, well, not probably, but I know for a fact that it won't be more than $5 a month for the subscription. That's the highest I'll go. I'm not going to do anything more than $5.
That's awesome.
And if it's still too much for people, then I'll drop it down to, no less than maybe $2 or something. I don't know. Again, I don't know. Nothing's solidified. I haven't looked into how to get the Patreon separate from the spooky stories to my regular podcast. I don't know how to do that yet, so I still have to do research on that. Other than that, my episodes will still be weekly. I'm dropping episodes every week. Like today, as soon as we get done with this, I'm gonna finalize my editing on Cinderella Origins, and that's going to be released shortly. Weekly releases. Oh, now just for those of you who listen to my podcast as well, I'm going to have my brother on there. He's going to share his crazy ass experiences that
Spooky story.
he encountered. So I'll have him on there. That's going to be a long show. So hopefully everybody enjoys that one. And merchandise is in the works. I wish I had a clear date and a
I can't wait for
clear
that.
solidified release, but I do not, because I'm still in the search for people, for producers who can give me exactly what I want and what I'm asking for, and where the prices aren't ridiculous.
What do you mean?
So
What does
all of
that
that,
mean? Like people to make it?
yeah, yeah.
Have you
I
tried
can't think of the word.
vistaprint.com? Go to
Have I
Vistaprint.
did what?
Vistaprint?
Yeah, Vistaprint is one. T-shirts.com is another. There was another one that I can't think of right now off the top of my head, but because I wanted to keep everything local. I wanted to keep everything,
Oh yeah, I see what
independent,
you're saying. Oh, I didn't think
small
about that.
businesses. But some of them small business people want to charge me a fucking arm and leg for
Well,
what I
because they're
want.
a small business, I
Yeah,
get it. They're not a corporation, but I
and
can't wait for all that.
right,
In addition to everything that you've been mentioned, I'm overly excited for the merchandise.
I am too, because I have Carissa Cat is and the thing is with because she does all my art. And I mean, we talk to her. So whatever merch sales we get, once we take away all of the, the what we put into it to pay back so we can keep it going, excuse me, all money is going to go to her
Oh,
because
right
it's
on.
her art. It's not, I had nothing to do with it. The only thing I asked her to do was
Awesome.
draw it. So whatever, we make, whatever I make from the merch is going to go to Carissa Cat, because
That's
she needs
awesome.
to buy her art supplies. She needs to do what she needs to do. And, it's going to be her, her side gig that's helping me out more than anything, helping me out more than her. But that's in the works. I just need to find a good what do they call not a producer, but what are they called,
Manufacturer.
manufacturer. There you go. A manufacturer to give me exactly what I want. And then what I didn't realize was that hoodies are a real big thing that people like, but here in
Yes.
Texas,
Yes.
we
Here
don't.
too.
I mean, it's 84 degrees right now in Texas,
Oh,
so
it's well, like 60 something. No, it's like, I don't know,
yeah.
maybe 70s.
So it's still pretty warm, and I don't, I hardly ever use hoodies now. So, but there's other people around the United States that it's really cold. So hoodies was one of my things that the kids have requested for me to make. So coffee cup and hoodies are probably going to be the first two things that are out.
I think
So
I'm going
again,
to
I
start.
don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just
Go
keep
ahead, go ahead.
stealing
You're
your
good.
thunder. I think I'm going to start with pens and notepads because I just want pens. I'm going to
Yeah.
send you pens with my mom if I get them.
Well, yeah. I thought about doing pins, but unfortunately, you and I are old school, like you mentioned. But a
Yeah.
lot of people are digitalized, and they don't really use pins
But see, here's the
as
thing.
much as
I
the
would
back
give
in the
them to
day.
the people that are also old school. My mom uses pens. My sister uses pens. These are people that are going to pull it out of their purse and actually use them, and people are going to see them. So that's my goal.
I think that would look really cool though if you got a chisel with goddess guidance and gave it to.
I think it's time to wrap it up because we're going to get killed. You're going to get me killed by my sister. Sister, I love you so much. This is all your brother's doing. Anyway, thank you for sharing all that you share. I'm excited for the weekly episodes, for your Patreon idea coming together for your spooky stories, and especially the merchandise that you've just told us about. I'm very excited for that. I can't wait to get my coffee mug and hopefully my hoodie. I can't wait for that. Thank you for being. You know what? The purpose of this was for you to update us on your podcast, and you did, and to tell us where you stand now with the spiritual, the metaphysical, the paranormal. And you've told me more than I thought you were going to tell me, and I'm happy that you are where you are. I'm happy that you're learning and that you're open to understand, not just learning but understanding it all, because like I said, with that comes learning and understanding about me. So I'm happy for
Yeah.
that. So thank you, brother. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing everything that you did. Thank you for spending time with me. And I suppose that's it. Any goodbyes
Yep.
or shout outs you want to give?
Just thank you for all the support Or listening to my podcast, go share my podcast with people you like, you don't like, just random people. Share it. That's all I care about. And if you keep enjoying the show, keep enjoying it. Let me know if you want me to change anything or you want me to critique or not critique, but tweak it. But other than that, as always, good morning, good day, good night.
We'll see you later. Goodbye.
Goodbye.